Hello, and welcome back to Games Benchmarked. Today we are overclocking Ryzen 5 5600X. I know you probably have heard that there is no point to overclocking 3rd generation Ryzen processors, which is only half part true. Applying traditional, manual all-core overclock with fixed voltage is indeed rather pointless. With static overclock my ceiling was 4.7 GHz. Not great, not terrible, but your mileage may vary. But AMD is offering different overclocking method. I will just call it offset overclock. Feature itself is not brand new, but there is new feature that makes this method even better. In MSI BIOS, it is called curve optimizer. The way it works, to my knowledge, there is frequency related to voltage curve. Reason why it is called curve is because if you want to push maximum frequency, you need to drastically increase voltage. For example, if you want to run 5600X at 4.5 GHz, 1.1 volts could be enough, but for 4.7 GHz, you may require 1.3 volts. 15% voltage increase for 4% more frequency. You can find Curve Optimizer in MSI BIOS, then under OC. Then Advanced CPU Configuration. Then AMD Overclocking. Then Precision Boost Overdrive. And finally Curve Optimizer. Before Curve Optimizer you could use offset overclocking and set frequency to plus 200 MHz, but then motherboard will increase voltage according to its voltage frequency table. If you use static offset voltage, for example, minus 0.1 volts, then voltage could be fine in single core workload, but in all core workload drop could be too much. Now, with Curve Optimizer you do not set voltage offset, but offset coefficient. If you set coefficient to minus 10, then single core voltage will drop by minus 0.1 volts, but all core workload by minus 0.05 volts. Please accept that numbers are just wild guesses, and real life could be different, but general idea is still the same. Now, to my results. I was able to achieve 4.95 GHz, that is 300 MHz increase over maximum stock settings. All core frequency hovered around 4.7 GHz. Based on those results I was very excited to start benchmarking. But unfortunately, I hit couple of roadblocks. First, I was more GPU bound than I would have liked to. Even with some games running at 720p and low settings GPU usage was above 90%. Second, I underestimated stock all-core speeds 5600X can achieve. At stock settings 5600X easily can achieve 4.45 GHz. If we look percentage-wise it was 5 to 6% increase. Third, most CPU demanding game in my test suite is Cyberpunk 2077. In this game I had most success, I scored 5% more FPS. I although tried PBO, and it was pretty great. No problem sustaining 4.6 GHz all-core frequency. So in gaming there wasn't much of a difference, 1 or 2% at best. Next, productivity benchmarks. And results are kinda anticlimactic. Biggest gain is 5.6% in Cinebench R20. And there is around 5% gains in Handbrake, and Unreal Engine 4 build time. That is if we compare offset overclock to stock results. If we compare PBO against overclocking results, then there is no difference at all. 3.5% in Unreal Engine is biggest difference there is. Usually, we just would go over each game, and compare FPS, 1% low in frame times, but this time, to be honest, that would be just a waste of time. Gameplay looks the same, stock, PBO or offset overclock. I will show Cyberpunk 2077 gameplay and then let's just analyze results. As always gameplay is recorded with graphics card running the game. In Cyberpunk 2077, we get 116 FPS at stock settings, but once we overclock, we get 122 FPS or 5% increase. With PBO enabled, we get 124, but it is just margin of error. Result just explains why I did not want to bother you guys with gameplay from each game. Numbers are so close, they are often within margin of error. To be honest, I do not even know what to say anymore. You can just pause and inspect numbers closer. Unfortunately, end result is kinda sad. I was really excited when MSI released their BIOS with Curve Optimizer, and it is a great feature. But stock results are so good, that extra megahertz is useful only for benchmarks. But, nevertheless, if you want to squeeze absolute maximum from your processor, because you probably paid over MSRP, offset overclock with Curve Optimizer is way to go. Please, let me know down in the comments how far can you push your Ryzen processor. It would be interesting how many of you guys can push your processors above 5 GHz. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.